Given the current situation in the world today, I decided to make my final enrichment project on COVID-19 and how the disease severely impacts the human body. So before we get into how the virus infects us all, I'd just like to clarify two things. SARS-CoV-2 is the name of the virus, Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2, and the disease is COVID-19, Coronavirus Disease 2019. SARS-CoV-2 is like other viruses with spikes because it's an enveloped virus, and most spiked viruses are infectious and they use their spikes to attach to specific receptors. The spikes in the SARS-CoV-2 virus attach to ACE2 receptors that line many human cells, as you can see over here. Okay, so what happens after that? Basically, the virus would then inject its genetic material into the cell, and then two processes would occur, resulting in the creation of new viral particles. Before we go into the two processes, it's important to note that SARS-CoV-2 is a single-stranded RNA virus. Their genetic material can be single or double-stranded DNA or RNA. So, since their genetic material is single-stranded RNA, they cannot depend on the regular RNA polymerase that carries out transcription, because the regular RNA polymerase creates an mRNA transcript based on DNA. But since the virus's genetic material is RNA, it would use RNA-dependent RNA polymerase to synthesize new RNA strands. And then ribosomes would translate the RNA similar to how translation works in normal cells. And then the protein component would join with the RNA strands and form new viral particles, as you can see in the diagram on the right. Like all antigens, SARS-CoV-2 triggers an immune response. So today I'm going to go into the detail about the inflammatory response. It involves a bunch of chemical substances such as histamine, which causes vasodilation or enlargement of blood vessels, which increase the flow of phagocytes. Phagocytes are basically immune cells that engulf antigen particles and get rid of them. Phagocytes just show why this is an example of nonspecific immunity, because phagocytes can't distinguish between different antigens. So it can't be like, oh, this is a bacteria, this is a virus. It can't do that. Basically, it just recognizes something as uncommon in a cellular environment, identifies it as bad, and then engulfs it and gets rid of it. Prostaglandins and cytokines promote blood flow, and cytokines also trigger more immune cells. And a fever is also a part of the inflammatory response because it increases metabolic activity, hence killing pathogens. You've probably heard that many COVID-19 patients have had high fevers. This is just a part of the inflammatory immune response. So what's a cytokine storm? A cytokine storm basically occurs when the body is unable to easily defeat an antigen, causing it to release an influx of cytokines. So when it can't defeat the antigen easily, it feels the need to trigger more immune cells and to increase the blood flow even more, so a bunch of cytokines are released. And this influx causes the immune system to act abnormally, and it begins attacking healthy body tissues. Therefore, it's been linked to many coronavirus deaths. Doctors in Wuhan first realized that severe patients may be experiencing cytokine storms when they identified high levels of interleukin 2R and 6 in the bloodstreams of severe patients. These are basically two important cytokines. These abnormal cytokine levels caused immune cells to infiltrate and attack healthy tissues. And in order to provide passage to these immune cells, the vasodilating blood vessels became expanded even more and became leaky. These vessels then allowed fluid into the lungs, causing a drop in blood pressure, and this led to a malfunction in respiration. This may also lead to ARDS, or acute respiratory disease syndrome. Furthermore, it also caused blood clots, which cut off blood flow to some organs, and insufficient blood flow led to organ failure and death. That's basically how one thing, the abnormal cytokine levels, can cause a whole domino effect in COVID-19 patients. Multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children took scientists by surprise in early May when it emerged, but they said that it's quite similar to some of the symptoms of Kawasaki disease, including organ damage and swollen limbs and rashes. However, an important point to note is that MIS-C patients rarely face the toxic shock syndrome resulting from bacterial infection that many Kawasaki patients experience. However, there is a spectrum of severity, with some children even experiencing a cytokine storm. Scientists continue to research MIS-C and the reason for its sudden emergence. My take on this is that the inflammatory response caused by abnormalities is more extreme in children because their immune system isn't as developed yet. And these are my sources. Thank you.